how do you break out of a rut? How do you get going? How do you move from one phase to the next? Well, let me give you two examples from students that I've coached this year. One lady was trying to finish her analysis. So she's got all this data, she's been doing interviews, and now she was sort of getting quite bogged down. Do I need statistical analysis and extra tools? And I sort of asked a few questions about it, and really determined that she had done enough. And any sort of more detailed analysis wasn't going to necessarily add value to the overall broad outcomes of her work. And yet she wasn't able to make that breakthrough, and I think she'd been sort of analyzing her data now for more than a year or two, even if I can recall correctly. So this PhD just became this long, never-ending, perpetual, ongoing analysis. And one technique that I suggested to her was to go and look at other final reports that use a similar methodology and a similar approach to hers, and see what that findings section looks like in the final report. And that she needed to start writing hers. She needed to start visualizing and putting into practice what that final outcome will look like, because the analysis of your data is going to result in some findings, some outcomes. After analysis, you're going to, depending on whether you're doing inductive or deductive research, you'll either develop a new theory or you'll test a previous theory. Those are your findings. That's what she has to write down now. And no matter what spreadsheet or tool or data she has, none of that is going to just magically pop out of the data. You have to actually be quite intentional about, starting from the end result and working back. Obviously you need it to be grounded in the data, and I used a methodology called grounded theory, and your theories must be grounded in the data. But I clearly recall there was a point where I felt I'd done enough analysis, and I now needed to start working backwards from my end product, was that findings section of my final report. So that was one. And the other lady was stuck in secondary research. So secondary research is when you're analyzing other people's work effectively, and your literature review is effectively secondary research. And that is important, especially if you are doing interviews, because you need to have enough groundwork done so that you can be a competent interviewer, etc. But she was threading the needle. She was trying to get the perfect level of analysis done on her specific topic. And after a few questions, strongly arrived at a conclusion for her, which hopefully will work. And because her primary research data gathering method is going to be interviews, I said, well, just book those interviews. So get on the phone, get onto your emails, and get some times and dates for those people to do the interviews, because you're going to struggle to tie them down. People are going to cancel, etc. So don't wait until you've finished your literature review or your secondary research before you start some of the planning and practicalities of your primary research. And remember that a PhD especially must focus on primary research. Your findings must come from your own data gathering. You cannot rely too much on secondary research. So those are two scenarios where I've coached people this year to get out of a rut in their postgraduate research. One was to get out of analysis and start writing her findings section in a report, and the other was to get out of secondary research and start booking those interviews and start getting that primary data gathering process going. So whatever rut you're in, comment below and let's see if I can help you fix that.